Good afternoon, everyone, and a very warm welcome to all of you. On behalf of St. Anandaram Jaipuria School Vasundhara, I, Parul Tyagi, moderator of today's session, extend a hearty welcome to our resource person, Ms. Bhavna Sharma, who will be conducting today's session. In today's time and age, technology has taken the world by storm. Gadgets, mobiles, TVs have replaced sports and games. And now, this challenging pandemic has confined our kids within the safe walls of our houses. And to add to our woes, our kids are more often than not besotted by the glitzy advertisements displaying fancy junk and packed food in a glamorous manner. It is rightly said, take care of your body. It's the only place you have to live. Our body is the home we live in for as long as we are alive. Our topmost priority should be to keep our body in good health. After all, a healthy mind resides in a healthy body. And an important part of keeping ourselves healthy is learning to focus on healthy eating habits. Today's webinar, titled Empower Children with Right Food Choices, attempts to blend common sense with traditional food wisdom to achieve the ideal eat local, think global scenario. More importantly, it aspires to make a shift from Google and bank on grandmother's prudence about foods. Now, I would like to introduce today's resource person, Ms. Bhavna Sharma. Ms. Bhavna brings along more than 11 years of rich and diversified teaching and teachers training experience with expertise in child and human psychology. A fitness and nutrition enthusiast, a bachelor's degree in food and nutrition added to her understanding of the latest in nutrition science, thus defining a multidisciplinary approach towards health and fitness. Having earned her master's in home science from Kurukshetra University, she gained her bachelor's degree in education from Lady Evan College, Delhi University. A stint as an admission and parents counselor in a global school exposed her to the current fads and fears that the young parents suffer from, in the current time, especially when it comes to their kids' eating habits. This became the genesis of the workshop, Empower Children with Right Food Choices, which is designed to provide the young parents an insight to develop a blend of traditional food wisdom and modern nutritional science for a healthy mind and body. Let food be thy medicine shall be thy food. On this note, I request Ms. Bhavna to take over the proceedings. Welcome, Bhavna.
Thank you, ma'am, for such lovely introduction. And thank you for having me today here. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this learning session titled Empower Children with Right Food Choices. My name is Bhavna Sharma, and in the next 60 minutes, I promise all of you are about to get smarter and more sensible with food. Today, we'll discuss how our grandmother's wisdom can give Google a good run for its money. Also, how easily we are manipulated by the food and the weight loss industry, and how children who eat boring dinners stay the strongest. But before getting on to that, let's start something which is even more critical, that is parenting, and how effective parenting can lead to better food choices. Since I would like the session to be interactive, I would request all the parents to type in their suggestions and responses in the chat window. You are free to do so. However, if you have any questions, I would be very happy to address your questions in the end of the session. Now, parenting today has definitely changed. It is riddled with a lot of challenges which were recently unknown to mankind. I mean, just remember the days when we were growing up. Our parents called the shots and we suffered them. You know what I mean. If we got scolded in school, if we got less marks in examination, even if we got hurt for that matter, it was clearly our fault. I remember one of my friends had plans to celebrate her birthday in a school when I was in school. And back then, celebrating birthday in a restaurant was quite a big deal. It was a rare phenomenon. I was so fascinated by this idea that I happened to share it with my father. And his response was, well, we'll see. And I never had the courage to follow on that request with him. And needless to say, that birthday never happened. So such were the responses which we usually got from our parents. Now compare the two situations. Does that mean our parents did not love us? Of course they did. They always thought of our well-being. However, they never tried to please us. In fact, no one at home did anything to please us until the time we were down with fever, or we announced that we have become school captains, or we stood first in the class. But now things have radically changed. We are actually servicing our kids, which I personally feel is not the wisest thing to do as parents. We should be loving our children, not servicing them. And in this whole process, unfortunately, children have become our customers. We are constantly seeking their approval. We are complicating the smallest of issues because we are so desperate to be their friends instead of parents. Now, let me tell you something. Parenting is an opportunity. We should not let it pass. As of now, our children, they need us as parents because they're too small and they're too young. So let's be their parents. Let's lead them and guide them. We can always be friends with them later when they grow up. As parents, I also feel that we owe our children good health. I feel it's one of our prime responsibilities. And if we pass down the means of earning good health to them by their exposure, efforts, and expertise, they can enjoy all the wealth they want in life. And I'm sure we all want that, right? We all want our children to be wealthy. So if we want them to be wealthy, it's very important that they stay healthy. So what are we waiting for? Let's empower our children with the right food choices. And the first step in doing so is to understand a few food fundas. And I would be sharing a couple of them with you today. As parents, we are constantly bombarded with a lot of information these days, which makes us apprehensive and fearful of the fact that whether we are raising our kids properly or not, whether our children are getting good education or not, whether they are eating enough or not, whether they are eating a balanced diet or not. And the most common fear which is observed among parents today is that whether my child is eating enough carbohydrates, proteins, fats, vitamins, and minerals. Let me tell you, this whole idea of eating food in a certain ratio is quite unsystematic. It's entirely industry driven. It's all created by the influencers, mainstream media, and health professionals. What is the objective? Why do they do it? Well, they subtly want to discredit our local foods and want to make us believe that whatever we are eating right now is insufficient in one or the other nutrients, and we need to look for healthier options which are available in the market in the form of processed and packaged foods. This constant propaganda of choosing foods basis of nutrients leaves us in a constant state of confusion, leaves us in a constant state of fear. And we fall into that trap because, sometimes we might think, okay, my child is drinking only milk for calcium. Why not make his diet more calcium rich and introduce cheese for him? And we do that. We end up becoming their customers. Let's rewind a bit. Let's think of our school days when we were growing up. I mean, I don't remember such a conversation happening in my household. My mother talking about carbohydrate, proteins, and fats. मेरे बच्चे ने आज कैल्शियम कम खाया है, मुझे उसको आज कार्बोहाइड्रेट ज्यादा देना है. Never ever. We ate well, we really enjoyed our meals, and we played a lot, of course. So what is the solution to get rid of this fear? How we can overcome this fear? Well, the solution is very simple. We need to confront the fear and know the facts. And the fact is, eat seasonal, local, and traditional food. Eat simple home-cooked food, which has seasonal fruits and vegetables, and which is cooked in a traditional manner, and which has local ingredients also. Do not lead a sedentary lifestyle. Lead an active lifestyle. Be physically active as much as possible. Engage your children in outdoor activities, because no matter what they eat, assimilation and absorption won't happen if they don't play and exercise. So let's stop chasing carbohydrates, proteins, and nutrients, because as money doesn't buy happiness. Can money buy happiness? Can we assume that all wealthy people are happy? Of course not. Money can make a life very comfortable and convenient, yes, but it doesn't guarantee happiness. Similarly, nutrients won't buy you health. Eating nutrients in a certain ratio will not necessarily make you healthy. So the takeaway is eat ghar ka khana, move around, because I really believe moving around is a healthy house, and healthy house is a happy house. Taking the discussion forward, let's talk about the next funda, or rather fear, which is again very, very common. कि खाने में क्या बनाना है? You know, we have accepted the fact to khana to banana hai, but khane mein kya banana hai? Mothers dread this situation because they are always thinking of how to make the meals more interesting so that their child eats. And surprisingly, you know, this is prevalent in all strata of society. Even my maid, she shares this concern with me. I remember a few days back, she was narrating me this incident that, I had planned to make mooli ka parathas for my child in the dinner, but then they insisted on eating noodles. So I had to make noodles for them. Now, I would connect this to the previous thought of mine that we are actually servicing our kids. So it's time that we start saying no to our children, no to their unreasonable and unhealthy demands, because children can be pretty unreasonable when it comes to their eating habits. And also not to feel guilty after saying no, because I've often seen mothers feeling sad and guilty after they say no to their children. Because unless we do that, this daily drama would continue. And we would fail to create the right food environment in our households, which is so, so very important if we want our children to be healthy, happy, and resilient. You know, we're always talking about bringing up our children in the positive environment and inculcating the right values in them. But we never talk about creating the right food environment. And believe me, instilling right food values is equally important, but we often tend to ignore that. So today I wish to elaborate a bit on this aspect, as I feel this is extremely crucial. And there are umpteen ways to do it. And the very first step could be involving children in the kitchen. Yes, you heard me right. Involving children in the kitchen, and it could be as simple as, laying down the table, keeping the fruits and vegetables in the refrigerator, keeping the utensils back in the kitchen after they are done with their meals. They don't have to cook an entire meal in the kitchen, of course not. And the simplest one, eating the food on their own. Because nowadays, I've often seen mothers feeding 80-year-old and a 9-year-old child also, which is absolutely not acceptable. See, this is very simple. Children would not learn to appreciate what is on their plate if they are completely disconnected with the process of what all it takes to land that food on their plate. And kitchen is the easiest place to start from. And it should be done regardless of gender. Trust me, it's not at all a biggie. Children all over the globe do it. Only Indians don't do it because fathers don't do it. So let me ask this question from the parents. How many fathers are involved in the kitchen? Let me throw this question to the parents. How many fathers are involved in the kitchen and how often they do that? Can we have some responses from the parents? Okay, moving forward. So the takeaway is basically, I'm waiting for the responses. Okay, I can see some. My husband is as and when required. That's great. That's great to hear. I'm so glad to read this. So as the parents keep on typing, I'll move forward and yes. So one more response. My husband as and when required. Okay, same. That's really great. So basically, when everyone is involved in the kitchen, it makes a huge difference. So the fact is, basically, we should start putting our foot down, and when our children demand for hajar varieties in the dinner. So another thing which is of utmost importance is that our last meal before sleep. Now, again, I am asking a question from the parents. What time do we have our dinner? What time do you generally have your dinner? Okay, I can see some responses. Dipti ma'am is saying, my son who's a teenager loves to cook his snack time dishes. That's really awesome. Okay, around 8 p.m., 9 o'clock. All right. See, we are very careful about, avoiding sugar and fried and processed, but we often forget the basics. People living in rural areas, they generally have their dinner by 7, 7:30, and maybe 6:30 also at times. But the urban population, they have their dinner by 9, 9:30, 10ish also at times. And needless to say, rural population is much more healthy than the urban population. I'm sure there are a lot of other factors responsible for that. But this factor, I feel, has an important role to play because digestion slows down after sunset. So it becomes very important to finish our dinner at least 2 to 3 hours before we hit the bed. And if we don't do that, our sleep would be compromised in a huge, huge way. And we all know that a good sleep is important for all the parameters of our child's development. And nobody wants to mess with that, I'm sure. So eating late, not a good idea. Also, dinner should have repetitive value. That is, child should be eating dal roti, dal chawal, sabzi roti, khichdi in the dinner. Dinner should not be comprised of stimulants. When I say stimulants, I mean no chocolates, ice creams, pav bhaji, chole bhature, noodles, because stimulants would make it worse. They would definitely interfere with your child's sleep. They would create gastric and thirst issues. If you wish to have stimulants, you can have stimulants, but the right time to have stimulants is between 4 to 6 p.m. because by the time your child sleeps, it would be digested. And they should be eaten in such a way that it allows you to have dinner. It allows you to have your khichdi, dal chawal at 8 o'clock. And if the child feels hungry by the time he sleeps, because if the child is having his dinner at 8, he might feel hungry when the child sleeps at 11 o'clock. So you can always give him a glass of milk at night, along with jaggery, or you can give him milk with freshly powdered nuts, or you can give him turmeric milk with, chawanprash, which will also allow him to have something sweet, and it will not disturb his natural hormonal cycle. So by making these small changes in our lifestyle, we can protect our children from a lot of diseases. And I strongly feel, and these are my favorite lines, kids who eat boring dinners, they stay the strongest. Yes, that's true. So parents, if you want children to be strong, and I'm sure you want, so please start feeding them with boring dinners. That's very, very important. Now, since we have a little clarity on some of the facts, identification of healthy and unhealthy food becomes equally important. Sometimes, by just seeing the food product, you can figure out whether the food product is healthy or not. You need not necessarily consume the food product. So there are some ways by which we can do that. So there are few parameters. So if the packet shows a picture of any body part, for example, brain or biceps or a growing body, then it is unhealthy. Because what is it trying to do? It's trying to play on your vulnerabilities. It's trying to tell you either you're not strong enough or intelligent enough. So if you consume this product, you'll be stronger and much more intelligent, which we all know is absolutely not true. Some food companies also offer you with such schemes. They would give you a free toy with the food item. Now, how many of you, this question is again for the parents, how many of you buy Happy Meal from McDonald's? So this is the marketing strategy they follow. So many children, they buy Happy Meal not because they love burger. They buy Happy Meal for their toy. So how many of you, can we have some answers from the parents? Okay, parents are taking time in writing. So such marketing strategies are unethical, in some countries, but unfortunately, India is not one of them. And it's not banned, but it's banned in some countries. So we should not be buying these food products. Also, any food available in the packet, especially in the processed form, and it is available across the globe or pan-India, it is unhealthy. It could be cheese, it could be noodles, it could be anything of that sort. Lastly, I think this is very, very important because almost all children idolize celebrities. And these celebrities could be in the form of movie stars, cricketers, or cartoon characters also for that matter. Sometimes they want to buy that food for the love they have for that celebrity, because the packet has a picture of that star. They might not be necessarily interested in the food item. I'll give you my example. During my school days, I was completely mesmerized by Lux soap advertisement. I'm sure all of you remember that. And the reason being very obvious, it was modeled by all the beautiful heroines of that time, from Sharmila Tagore to Hema Malini to Sridevi, and I think the latest one is Kareena Kapoor. And it had a very catchy punchline, "Filmi sitaron ka saundarya sabun." So when I grew up, I really thought, do these heroines take bath with this soap? Really? Of course not, because it was a 5 rupee or a 10 rupee soap during that time. They were just modeling for that product. So it's important we make our children understand that a celebrity is engaged as a brand ambassador of a junk food only when they are physically fit and have an agile body, which essentially means they have had the physical and the mental discipline to stay away from that product rather than consuming it. In fact, the truth is, even on the day of the shoot, they act like they are drinking or eating that food item, but actually they don't allow it down their throats. They are very conscious of this fact and they're very disciplined. It is an occupational hazard, yes, it is there, but we need to accept this. So any food item that meets even 3 of the above criteria and fits the pattern of profits over people is poor for our health, it's poor for our economy, and it is poor for our global ecology. Moving ahead, let's identify what can be eaten and what is healthy. Firstly, for any food item to be eaten, it is important that it passes the grandmom test. Now, this is very, very important, and this is very interesting. It has 2 questions. Your grandmother, your child's grandmother, would be asked 2 questions. And if the answer is yes to both the questions, you can go ahead and have that food. That food is super healthy. But if the answer is no to one question also, you're not allowed to have that food. So the first question is, does your child's grandmother recognize this particular item as food? That is, does she recognize pasta, pizza, burger, noodles as food? Now, in this case, I'm sure the answer would be yes, because she has definitely seen your child eating this food. And sometimes she must have bought it for him or her also. Now, the second question is more tricky. Did she eat it when she was of your child's age? Of course not. And I don't think she has intentions of tasting it now also, because most of the grandparents are quite repulsive to these foods. Now you can counter question in this case, because you would say they did not eat it because they were not available at that time. Yes, thankfully so, they were not available. Now here we need to understand a bit of food evolution. See, food evolution has been a very slow process, and it has varied from place to place depending on its geographical location, climate, etc. Our bodies are adapted to a particular type of climate. We cannot eat anything and everything and get away with it. The grandmothers thankfully had the wisdom to choose the right kind of foods for the right region and the climate. So that's why different kinds of food for the different parts of the world. Colder regions will have different foods and warmer regions will have different foods. So foods like pizzas and burgers, they have never been a part of our heritage and culture. Now, what has happened in the last 15, 20 years or post-liberalization with these huge food companies coming to the picture, we have included these food in our regular platter. And I've already shared the objective of these companies with you. It's purely commercial. It's purely business. They have nothing to do with our health. So passing the grandmother's test becomes very, very important. And the most glaring example of this is the ongoing times, the COVID times. I mean, just look at the recovery rate in India. It is the best in the world. Low mortality and high recovery is immunity-based. The Kada, which has been prescribed by the Ayush Ministry, has always been a part of our food heritage and culture. Tulsi, ginger, lemon, cinnamon, honey, amla, they've always been our Dadi Nani's favorite nuskha. So let's grant wisdom to our grandmothers and, well, hooray to them. The second way to identify what's healthy is the foods which only have a local name and no Angrezi equivalent are super healthy. Now, for example, Gond ka laddu. Have you ever noticed there are some foods which only have a local name? They do not have an English equivalent. Gond ka laddu, gajak, revdi, they do not have an English equivalent. So I would like again ask parents a question. Can you name some local foods with a local name without its Angrezi equivalent? I have given you a few examples: Gond ka laddu, gajak, revdi. Can you think of some more? We can always take a breather here for 20 seconds. Malethi, okay. Jyoti ma'am is saying Malethi. Indu ma'am, good. Good is called jaggery though, but I'll accept that. That's a good one. Dhokla, khandvi, besan shira, okay. Not bad. Gud ki patti, yes, very true. So see, we have so many local foods, but you know what? I'll explain you the reason why are they super healthy. See, because they are native of their own land. They have adapted to its climate. They have all the nutrients to fuel your child's growth. And they're also ecologically very smart because they have not traveled a long distance to land on your plate. So other than being good for your health, they're also good for your farmer's economy. However, unfortunately, these foods are often neglected and not valued in their region because of lack of prestige and lack of awareness. See, we take a lot of pride in eating kiwis and broccoli, but we don't feel the same when we eat moongli, revdi or gajak. And ironically, local foods are less expensive and they provide more nutritional benefits as compared to these exotic foods. So it's time that we start feeding our children papaya and banana as compared to kiwis and broccolis. And invariably, what happens is when our local foods are introduced as novel foods in richer regions, the whole world can't wait to copy it, which is so very sad. You know, America's superstores, superstores in America are loaded with clarified butter. Any idea what is it? Parents, any idea what is it? What is clarified butter known in America? Can I have some answers? White makhan, okay. Jyoti ma'am is saying white makhan. See, clarified is nothing but our own desi ghee. And the America's superstores shelves are loaded with clarified butter today. And also a drink called turmeric latte is making waves in health population in United States. Any idea what turmeric latte is? Great. Jyoti ma'am is saying haldi milk. Yes, it's our own haldi doodh, and no marks for guessing it right because it's our own haldi doodh. So it's time that we start recognizing the potential of our desi foods. Thank you for being such a wonderful audience. So thirdly, any food which has multiple uses is a superfood. Yes. So superfood should be like a school playground, which can be used for fetes, exhibitions, annual functions, sports day, during the recess time. So it should be versatile and it should be all-rounder. I'll assist this statement by giving you a few examples. For example, banana. I mean, the whole banana tree is made use of. You know, raw is used as sabzi, ripe can be, of course, eaten as fruit, overripe can be turned into shira, banana leaf is used as a plate, banana branch is used in mandaps. So the entire banana tree is made use of. So it's a superfood and it's super healthy. Rice again, for example, we all know that we make kheer out of rice, pulao, biryani. Rice atta, again for rotis and dosas, uncooked is used in rituals and pujas. Rice husk is used for cattle feed. Rice paste is used for rangoli. So numerous uses of rice and banana. So there are many other superfoods also. So basically, which food is good for you? Apart from health benefits, if it has other uses also, it may be in our rituals, it may be in decoration, medicinal purposes, and therapeutic purposes. So such foods are superfoods and they are really good for your health. Now, truly speaking, you know, health is just not about height and weight charts. It encompasses much more than that. And if I have to share my perspective of healthy child, this would be it. A healthy child is somebody who thrives in an environment of good food and love, who goes to school every day, which unfortunately is not happening these days, but that doesn't mean the children are not healthy. They are. One who is allowed to make mistakes, and one who has access to technology that is regulated by the parents. Very, very important. So this here we come to the end of the session. So let's keep our grandmother's wisdom alive and let's uncomplicate the act of eating. So I would ask the parents, I would be really happy to address some questions if the parents have some questions. Can we have some questions, please?
Okay, there is one I see in the chat box.
Yes.
There's a parent who's asking here, can you suggest some other ways of creating the right food environment apart from what you have already discussed?
Okay, this is a good one, and this would be fun to answer, I guess. Yes, so creating the right food environment. I had suggested one of the ways, but when we talk about creating the right food environment, that only means the value of food is missing in the house. So the value of food has to be appreciated in the house, and I think it can only be done when, as I just suggested, that children should not be completely disconnected with the process of what is happening in the kitchen and what all it takes to land that food on their plate. I've often seen mothers in my society rushing at shops at 7:30 in the evening, at 8 in the evening. Why? Because they have made something which their child will not eat. Probably they have made paneer or aloo gobi, and they are being so fussy. Mama, mujhe ye nahi khana hai. I want to eat paneer. I don't want to eat aloo gobi. And mother is at 8 o'clock. She's rushing towards the shop to get some paneer. So I had already discussed that, we are trying to please our children and servicing our children. So we should stop doing that. Learning to eat somebody else's favorite sabzi is also one of the ways to create the right food environment. And, it's not at all a bad deal, because the child is learning so many things when he's learning to eat somebody else's favorite sabzi also. Because at times what happens is there are two children in the house. One likes rajma, but the other doesn't. So let the mother make only rajma. Okay, because what happens is this child who doesn't like rajma will learn to live with somebody without complaining. Okay, when his favorite sabzi would be cooked, it would give him immense joy. Thirdly, he can look for healthier options in the kitchen. He can go in the kitchen and he might say, okay, mama, I can try curd with rice, or dahi or papad or achar with rice. Let me try that. I can try roti with ghee and jaggery. Why not? But yes, you have to make sure that the child looks for healthier options. He should not start making Maggi in the kitchen. That would make the condition worse. So, and a research says that when a child is creative and he improvises in the kitchen with what's available, that child learns to enjoy small aspects of life. And we all want that. छोटी छोटी चीजों में खुशियां ढूंढना is what we are aiming for. So, so this is one of the ways to create the right food environment. We should not be very fussy, and we should stop servicing and pleasing our children.
Absolutely correct. It's not always possible to please everybody in the house.
Yes, that's
There's another question that I would, that one parent, I believe, has asked. Can you name some more superfoods?
Well, there
you gave an example of.
Yes,
so,
there are plenty. We can arrange a separate session for that.
Okay.
But yes, to answer the question, coconut. Coconut is one of the superfoods. I mean, you can eat coconut as chutney. You can eat just as it is. Coconut water is again very, very beneficial for constipation, bloating. It has several good uses. Then coconut oil is again very, very beneficial. So a lot of multiple uses for coconut. Sitafal. Sitafal is a great source of iron and vitamin B complex. It speeds up digestion and metabolism. So people who want to lose weight, they can eat sitafal every day. It's not at all harmful. And it also helps to fight tiredness and improves fertility. Then sweet potato is again shakargandi, which we call, and we don't like it much, but yes, it's a great source of fiber. It again battles obesity. It's rich in vitamin A. It keeps bloating, acidity, and constipation away. So people who have this problem, they can consume sweet potato. And it's good for PCOD and diabetes patients also. So these are some of the superfoods. Otherwise, the list is endless, you know. Yeah.
There's one participant who has mentioned amla also.
Yes, amla again. Amla is also good.
Many
Very
uses
good
it
source
has,
of
yeah.
vitamin C. It has a lot of antioxidants. Very good source.
There's another one for you, ma'am, a tricky one for that. Children do not like to eat vegetables.
Oh,
So how can we make them eat vegetables?
this is a very common question,
Yeah.
actually asked from the parents.
Story of almost every household.
Yes. See, we are the masters. We as mothers are the masters of our kitchen. So we should learn how to be creative and resourceful. So what we can do is, for example, if child doesn't like methi, for example, this is what I do in my household. If a child doesn't like methi, thankfully my child eats everything, but yes, what you can do is the best way is to knead it in the dough. You can make parathas, or you can see, the idea is the child should eat that vegetable. It is not necessary that a child should eat methi in the form of aloo methi sabzi only. Okay, so methi uske body mein jana chahiye. That is the basic idea. So you can knead it in a dough. You can put it in besan chila, in that batter, and make a chila out of it. Lauki, for example, lauki, I do that. I grate lauki, and you can put it in the besan batter and make a chila out of it. It makes a very soft chila actually. So you can do such things. Palak again, for that matter, you can make palak roti, palak paratha, those kind of things. So we should know. Then you can make Frankie rolls also. You can just saute some vegetables, because children like to see various shapes and funny shapes and interesting shapes. So if you make some interesting shapes for them, then they like it and they can eat it. So you can saute some vegetables, bell peppers and capsicums and aloo, and you can just make a Frankie out of it. So we need to be resourceful, and it has to be consistent effort. I am sure it requires a lot of effort on the mother's part and on the father's part also. Yeah.
So basically, creativity is the key.
Creativity, yes.
Yeah. Well, this is another one, and this one particularly resonates with me. Can you suggest some specific foods that children should eat before examinations?
Yeah. So children usually, skip breakfast before exams, but that's not a great idea. We should be having breakfast before exams, because because your brain should be we should be focused, and if you're hungry, you'll focus on the hunger, you'll not focus on the exam. Every body is different. So we should observe our bodies, and we should see what works for you, what works for your child. So sometimes some things which work for me might not work for you. Some things might work for some children, and some things might not work for other children. So you should just observe what works for you. In theory, I would like to answer this question as, eggs work great. So you can have eggs, you can have curd, then porridge is a great food before the exams. You should be well hydrated. That's very, very important. Eat whatever, you can eat everything, but the only thing which you have to remember is you don't have to eat processed and packaged foods. Because if you want your child to be active and focused, packaged foods is a big no-no, because that will only make your child dull and lazy. So eat anything, but not processed and packaged. When I say processed and packaged, no cheese, no noodles, no Maggi. Okay, I would say no bread also, but yeah, that works for some children. So that's up to you. But yes, eggs are great. Porridge is great. Curd is great. So have a light breakfast, but yes, breakfast is very important.
Very informational. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you very much for a wonderful and enlightening session. I'm sure that the parents who attended this, they surely must have benefited tremendously. And of course, will put into practice today's takeaways in their daily routines. Actually, when you focus on just a couple of small changes at a time, you make healthy habits that can last a lifetime. With this, I thank the resource person, Ms. Bhavna Sharma, and I extend my thanks to the parents for their wholehearted participation. Thank you and have a nice day. Stay healthy, stay happy. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.